Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and for bearing with us during our technical difficulties. We're really glad that you could join us. We're talking about web store customization today. As you know, Chipley has recently made a lot of updates on the e-com side of things. And today we have our product design team here with us to kind of walk us through exactly why Chipley decided to make those updates, and then to also kind of give you a demo and just kind of talk about best practices when you're putting those into play. So we have Diego and Elizabeth here with us today, and I'm gonna hand everything over to Diego here in just a second to get us started. We are gonna do Q&A at the end. If you have questions, feel free to type them in at any point in time during the webinar. We'll hold on to them until the end, and then we'll go through and try to answer as many as we can. If for some reason we can't get to your question at the end, we always send out a follow-up, and we will make sure that your sales team does reach out to get you the answers that you need. So feel free to use that Q&A and let us know what questions you have. Without further ado, Diego, you want to get started?
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Diego. This is Elizabeth Welch. We are the product designers here at Chipley. And if you don't know what a product designer is, it's basically we just create the experiences and try to craft the experiences as best as we can, having the user in mind and to make sure that things align the best we can with you know, standards out there and way that people are expecting some behaviors. So the first thing we wanted to run you guys over is like a little bit of history on how and why we did this whole recustomization of the web, of the e-commerce side. We thought since I joined the company, like the website experience, the e-commerce experience wasn't as good as it could be. It was just a platform where people will put products in, just hang them from a page and make sales from there. We thought that we were losing a lot of potential, so we started working with the company, with our team, to kind of like bring that a little closer to the standards, industry standards out there. And on the process of doing that, we realized that we were missing in what we call the mobile experience for these e-commerces. The mobile experience is, just people shop today. Nowadays, everything is done on a mobile device. So we thought like the transition from desktop to mobile wasn't as good as it could be. So we started digging into it a little bit more with the Altano research, and that's what we wanted to kind of like show you, like our findings on the research, which base a lot of the changes that we made on the branding page. So you guys can see my presentation, okay? Thumbs up, yeah? Okay. So first thing we did, we just used a platform to kind of like set up the methodology of it. We kind of structured it throughout the 12-week period. We did around 500 sessions per day. This was like kind of like overlooking the users interacting with the application. And that gave us a lot of insight on what, like our findings. We were just analyzing the findings. And the biggest thing we found is that most of our customers are already using smartphones for their daily purchases. This was kind of a shock for some people at the company, mainly the stakeholders. We kind of knew that this was moving in that direction. We kind of identified that the usage by device, it's almost double on the mobile part that on the desktop. So as you can see here, it's like almost double our users account for the majority of people using our platforms in there. And when I say platforms, we're just talking about the e-commerce side of it, right? Like your end customer, not the application side. Yeah, Liz, do you want to talk a little bit
Sure.
about it? Sorry.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. Hi everyone. Yeah, so kind of building off that initial finding about just the amount of people who are using mobile devices. We also noticed this interesting trend where there's a concept called bounce rate, and it basically means like people open the application and then leave it. And so oftentimes, or they leave it without completing a sale, right? So it's kind of like a unsuccessful experience. And oftentimes that's caused by like different or sorry, user experience things. Like maybe they couldn't find a button or it was really hard to use and clunky. And so we actually found that the mobile bounce rate, so people who are leaving after shopping on their mobile device, was 2 times greater than on desktop. So again, that kind of indicates that maybe a lot of people were starting to shop on their phone, getting frustrated, and then maybe moving to desktop to actually complete the sale. And so that kind of also just highlighted that there's a real need to kind of improve that mobile experience.
Right, and that why this matters so much is that without a mobile first design, we were losing a lot of revenues. So the inefficient, we kind of identify some key elements here, like inefficient viewport use. There was a lot of cognitive overload. There's a lot going on, and the navigation wasn't where it should be. And that what that meant is like, it's higher bounce rate, like Liz said, customer sales will go down, or dealer revenue will go down as well, just based on, people's frustration.
And yeah, these are just kind of some quotes from different reports to just kind of evidence how different platforms have found that improving these user experience attributes of a store can actually help conversion. So in this study, they found that improving the navigation led to a 20% conversion uplift. And then in the next one, again, like a big increase in conversion with checkout UX improvements. So to underscore what Diego said, like all of this is hopefully so that your shoppers will have a better experience on your store and maybe make some of those purchases that they were missing out on before.
Right. And so there's a truth to this kind of like a reality that the expectations of the users, of the end users, are on the rise. More people that we identify as our customers or your customers are used to shopping on very well-known platforms like Amazon, Walmart, any big platform out there. These companies, they spend a lot of time, a lot of research into navigation and how things can work better, which is called the UX, the user experience of the part. And that's what Liz and I's job come into place. That's our goal, is to kind of, as a small team, try to analyze all these variables and try to give cheaply users the best experience they can to increase sales on the other end. So basically, people that are used to a certain behavior when they come to our platform, they should experience something very similar, if not the same. And that's how we kind of started working on some of these changes.
Yeah, so kind of following that like high level overview of our research, we just wanted to outline some of the key focus areas that you've probably seen getting implemented in the application over the past few months. So the first is, as we discussed, transitioning to a mobile first ecom platform. So just little things here like displaying the product thumbnail better. And yeah, actually, this is a better demonstration of that. So one way to think about kind of the ecom journey is in these three buckets: discovery, selection, and conversion. So discovery, and all this is like very intuitive, of course. So discovery is just how users find your products of interest. And so this is kind of maybe they're on the view all page and they're just browsing, kind of getting a lay of the land. Then selection is once they've actually given that preliminary interest in the product. So this would be like at the product details page. And this is when they're really evaluating the item to determine whether they want to add them to cart. So this could be like changing sizes, changing the designs on it, seeing the colors. And then the third would be conversion. So that's once they've actually added to their cart, are they placing the order and finalizing the sale? And so through these session recordings and this research, we just found little ways that we could improve in each of these buckets. And so those are kind of the behind the scene changes you may have seen to the ecom experience.
Right. So, and we know that cheaply users are used to some of these behaviors, and they kind of made peace with them. Like the discovery section, for instance, that was very important for us. We felt like the user had to scroll and scroll and scroll to see a lot of um, items in your stores. And in reality, your stores can have like a lot of products. So that was kind of like inhibiting people from making purchases, so they couldn't find it. The selection, like Liz said, and the conversion, like how fast they check out, that was a little cumbersome. So we kind of tried to get in there. What we want to kind of like bring to your attention today is like the more user-friendly changes, and these are all tools that hopefully you guys will use. Your stores look better, feel better, perform better, and hopefully increase your sales.
Yeah, so we heard from a lot of you all around Summit time last year that you really wanted to add more store branding to your stores, maybe change colors, kind of just make it a more personalized experience for your partners. And so we did do all this branding customization work on the platform, and that's sort of what the rest of this demonstration will cover.
So we're gonna transition a little bit into our live platform now, and we are gonna kind of go over some of the basic changes that we've made. We want to kind of like walk you guys around if you're not familiar with it. If you are familiar with it, we would love to hear questions or feedback that you might have on it. And at the end, I think we're gonna try to give you guys like our approach to it, or how we kind of like foresee people using this, and that might trigger some ideas on how to best utilize this. Um, the one thing to note here is that nothing changed fundamentally. Like all the same tools are still available. We didn't remove anything or anything major, at least. And we did kind of like reorganize how the menu work again, just to find things easier. Just like we're thinking about the end user on the e-com platform, we're also thinking about you guys when you're building your stores. So this is kind of like we're just trying to help you kind of like streamline that process. And we do see two venues, right? It's like we see people that use our platform that are just cranking stores day in and day out, and they just close it every day, and then they keep going. So they don't put a lot of thought on the store. And we see other people that maybe will have a store open for a year, that will want to have a little more tools or more uh, elements to tweak and make that store look better. So hopefully this will kind of like cater to both of those users.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so here we see the branding page. So the whole page got a bit of an overhaul, right, from the previous version. And so maybe we'll start by just kind of walking you through the high level of this. So again, we're in branding here, so I'll just click that to give more space. And what we're doing here is trying to kind of replicate an editor that you may see on a different like website creator platform, so that you can really get to toggle your elements over here and then see that live in a preview. And another added benefit here is, again, as we think more about mobile, it makes it really easy to kind of see how changes affect both mobile and desktop.
Yeah, not too much to add about that. Styles, light, dark, and custom. We call it custom. So light is the way the you guys perceive it today. We are at the dark mode, which we think is high contrast. Looks a little better, or just gives you like a different vibe. And custom is where we allow you guys to select your background color. If you know your hex color, you can just select it from there. You can kind of like wing it, kind of like get in the ballpark. Or if you need to, we also included a color picker that you can use, say on a garment or on your logo, to kind of grab the exact color. Something to note here is that the custom color mode, although it says background color there, it's not going to give you the full saturation and the full display of the color we are picking. What we did here is like we analyzed that if we just let the color go, we're gonna run into a lot of problems contrast wise. We gotta keep in mind folks that might have some contrast issue or any kind of ADA accessibility issue. So what we did is we just lowered the saturation a little bit just to keep that hint of color. So it gives you a little bit of personality on the page, but at the same time doesn't really interfere with the way the page is read.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a really good point because throughout this demonstration, you'll see that we have kind of guardrails behind the scenes so that you should never have to worry about those things like contrast. You can kind of experiment freely, and hopefully we've got that covered. We should. And so yeah, so in addition to the background color or the color theme generally, you can also add an accent color. And this is basically gets applied to certain elements on the store. So here you have free reign. You can pick absolutely any color you want. So let's say, oh, I think we're going to pick the yellow here. All right. So let's say I want to grab this like yellow color. I can grab it there and then click into the product. And here I'll see the button has changed. There's other elements that have changed. Like once we get once the store goes live, these will represent with that yellow color as well and just get speckled across the store. And so the idea is that even if you opt for a custom color where it's kind of tinted in the background, you can use the accent color to get that full color. And so you can kind of just play around with whatever brand palette you have and give an interesting experience. And yeah, one thing to add to the color theme is just we'd recommend like when you're thinking about which theme, you may have a gut personal preference, which is awesome. Otherwise, you could kind of think of light as like approachable, kind of more friendly, maybe. Dark is maybe like sporty and kind of a modern feel. And then custom is again, if you have like a brand palette that you want to bring in a little bit more, you may opt for that one.
Yeah. And so just picking on that, the brand color on the light, dark, and custom, that will be a full version of the color you pick. So keep that in mind. And we really curated that to only apply to very specific places on the ecom that we think it kind of complements the page, it complements the colors, and at the same time doesn't get in the way of anything. Um, the last thing about this is like you don't have to worry about choosing a darker color versus a light color when it comes to this because we apply some logic behind the scenes too that if you pick a color, like if Liz can pick a really, like light color, you will see that the text on that will switch automatically to the contrast side of it. So it's either going to be white or black, depending on what color it is. I'm sure there are some exceptions out there, if you're like right in between two shades of something, so you can always, kind of nudge that a little bit. But for the most part, 99% of the time should give you that reading.
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of the main one we wanted to focus on for global. And global just meaning things that kind of apply across your whole store. Header and footer and closed storefront, those have the functionality that you all are used to. So I think now we can move into pages. And so pages just kind of highlights into certain, again, parts of the store on your navigation. So when we say listing page, that's just what you all are used to today. So like your view all page, a category page, basically any product listing page on your store.
Yeah, so inside of listing, we can go into each selection of it. So Uh, of course, we left the preset options. We have three options here that we used to have before this change. So you can do your presets that we provide, kind of curated images. You can go and pick your own image that we're gonna talk about that in a second. And you can also do a video. So far, the videos only accepts YouTube URLs, and that YouTube video has to be public to display correctly. But you have some options when it comes to that. What we like about our presets is that they're already being curated. If you open that drop-down menu and you see like the options that you have, you'll see like these images are fairly curated to be either heavy on the left or on the right. And this is gonna help us when we talk about the display module in a second. But what we want to say is like we encourage people to use this. Of course, if you can use that, there are some specific guidelines that you should that you should use to upload your own images, and you might run into some issues that we'll probably talk about if we have time at the end.
Mhm. And yeah, so we have overlay or previously called slide logo. We've had this for a while, but if anyone hasn't used it, this can be another great way to just kind of, again, add a little brand pop. So this basically allows you to upload an image that then gets overlaid onto your banner there. Moving down here, so text information is kind of all of the, actually, I'll show it on screen. So this is a lot of times people put maybe information about their store closing or maybe orders and shipment information. And so currently, or I guess in Old Chipley, this shows up as a wall of text here, and you can still have that today. One thing we did notice though, particularly on mobile, is that if you have a ton of text here, users have to really scroll down a lot to get to the products. And so thinking about that like discovery bucket, it's pretty tedious for them to make their way down every time. And so one little quick fix that we built into mobile is doing this see more, see less, so that if you want it on screen, at least it kind of gets truncated at a certain size so users can get to the product faster. But another thing we implemented that we're excited about is this option to use a pop-up instead. And so here, I may have to change the persistence here. All this information just gets put in a pop-up that a user sees right when they log into your store or open your store, and you can change how persistent it is. And so this is a good way. It does almost even more so put the information users face, but then also doesn't block this store experience when you get to the products. So we kind of recommend opting for that. You can also do both if you want to have that on screen as well.
Yeah, and very important, two things here to note is that we did identify that that message is usually used for people to convey a very important message that the user might need up front, but not necessarily every time they reload the page or every time they come back to the page. That's why we're providing this pop-up. So best usage for this will be kind of put this very important information up front, make it just show once per login or once per session. Your user can see it, accept it, kind of dismiss it, and they will never come back, because we all know those pop-up windows can get pretty annoying if you're in a shopping experience. I'm sure you guys experience that on a daily basis. And the second part is that you can get really creative with this too. We're giving you some controls here over the text size and the text font. Something that you want to experiment with. Maybe you want to put it on a pop-up and make some words larger than others and kind of use it as a marketing tool. That's also another option that we thought it might be interesting for the user that really spends some time on their stores and really want to dial it in perfectly. And the one thing that we didn't really touch on is like the addition to this iframe that we see here, this like live preview. This is very important for us. Like we thought that Chipley users, for the most part, were building their stores with two windows open. They will make changes on the application and then refresh the page, which we still encourage for people to do, kind of like to see how it's going. But here you can really quickly get at a glance how your store is displaying, just by toggling switches and adding or removing things to get like a basic idea. And also, if you do need more real estate, say for the store closing information, you want to type there like a novel or something, you can do that. We did include this hide iframe, so now it gives you a little bit more versatility. You can pull that drawer, that text field down and type, a little more comfortably. So just something to note, kind of like the hidden functionalities of these.
Yeah, so moving on to display options. So we're quite excited to show you all these. So currently, right on Chipley, you just have one kind of a product thumbnail, and we'll get into how you can make it small or big, but you don't have too much flexibility in changing that. And so one thing we are thinking about in terms of customization, as well as just, again, making that e-com experience really great for customer, is if you could create sort of like a hierarchy of your products, or maybe, show a product that you want to move inventory on. And so for this, we've added these layouts So there's two layouts, spotlighted and boosted, and you can set these layouts in your product spreadsheet because we know oftentimes you're in your product spreadsheet when you're kind of making these decisions. So you can do it on the individual product level here, or you can do it in bulk as well. And so what would happen here is I had just set the spotlighted. And so if I turn it on here, now I see that this product gets a really big card full width and it has its own CTA button. So, maybe this is a really cool design or again, something you want to move inventory on. You can just put this here so that an e-com customer is kind of guided to that product. And then similarly, you can use boosted layouts. And so this is sort of a step down in the hierarchy, and this creates a slightly more emphasized thumbnail. So you can see this takes up a little bit more space than the normal thumbnails. And so using these, you can kind of create this like cascading effect in your store and draw emphasis to certain items. And just one thing to note here is that these currently take the order in your product spreadsheet. So you can definitely be very creative about like interspersing them. We just want to get some caution on that because it can create like gaps in your layouts. So a really safe option is just to move these to the top like you see here. But again, power to you if you wanna customize it even more.
Yeah, and I hope we hope folks out there are getting as excited about this as we are. This could be a really interesting thing, and please give us feedback if you feel like it. Um, now you can really target a specific item, a specific garment that you want to move. Like let's say you can just make it big, put it in front of people to make a more impactful store. And again, if you really take the time to build your store and utilize all these new functions, we're sure you're going to see more return on your sales, and I'm sure you're going to get feedback from your clients as well. Um, so with that, I mean, we can talk about the default displays really quick, but maybe we
Mhm.
should just jump into the landing first.
Yeah,
Just
maybe we can just show this one new one, which is the list view, just if you all are like, what is that? So this is kind of the main, just a new display you can turn on, and that just lets your customers get a lot of products at once. So you can see it
yeah,
on desktop and mobile. So again, oh, sorry, I have to click it. Another way to just kind of give a interesting experience to customers.
yeah. And a side note on that, like if your customer switches to list, you will lose this spotlight and boosted kind of view. Um, so it's like two sides of a coin. We do believe that people like Amazon, eBay are laying more into the list view. Again, just to see more products at once. But again, totally versatile. You can just select the ones you want to have on display on your e-com, and then your user can toggle between them. You can make them just default and then just toggle them all on and off. Again, you can see everything on the iframe previewing, so it's pretty handy just to get
Mhm.
a gut check.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so what we're very excited about is landing page. So this is a completely new page in the ecom navigation. And again, this is born from all that research on a lot of industry standard platforms. So if you've been on like Nike or Under Armour, so many websites, they'll have kind of a home page, a landing page that they have usually like a lot of images and a lot of shop this item, shop that item, and some marketing content on it. And so that's what we wanted to give you all the option to use on your stores as well. So this kind of becomes like, we'll get into all the different modules you can use on it, but you can think of it as kind of a home base for your shoppers that then they can just easily go directly to a category, go directly to a product or category from there, or just shop all and get into your view all page very quickly.
Yeah. Again, a great marketing tool to put basically strip your listing page from all the noise, all the banners and the countdowns, move all that stuff to kind of like a landing page where you can just read all the information, see at a glance what's in the store, and you can navigate directly from there to the product. Again, speeding up the checkout process. And if not, you can just have the same experience once you're done with the landing page. And of course, you always have the option to go back to it by clicking on the store name or your logo. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Yeah, so when you turn on the landing page, all of your banner, your text information countdown just gets moved to landing page, so you don't have to redo anything. And the only kind of main addition here is this welcome panel. So this is what you see here on the left, although you can move it on the right as well if you have an image that, again, you don't want to cover parts of it. And you can change, this is where we give you free reign. You can say, welcome to our store, my store. You can change the button text to like shop products, anything you want. We did set a default, like using welcome and shop all is again very industry standard. So we'd recommend you don't go too crazy here, like kind of give users the information they want, but you can change the text, you can change the fill to anything, the button to anything. So you have a lot of customization here.
Yeah, and that's what where this banner usage maybe it's worth it to talk about it a little bit more. Like you can see this welcome panel is either gonna align to your left or to your right. It kind of superimposes over the on the hero image there. So again, that's why we provide these like images that are like heavy either on the left or on the right, the left third or the right third. So just be aware when you're creating your own image, you don't want to create something that is very center focused, because then when you turn your landing page, your welcome module on, it will kind of interfere with some of that. You have to play around with it a little bit. You always have the option to just toggle it off, and you don't have to worry about that. And that kind of becomes like the same, interaction that you had on your listing page. So things to keep in mind, things to play around with, just to make the experience the best you can.
Mhm. Yeah, and then as we get into what appears below this banner, so here are the different modules that we've added. So we just go through them one by one. Suggested this sort of similar to the layouts we showed before because you set them on your product spreadsheet. But this basically, I think I have already set some. So again, you can do it in edit product or in bulk. And if you set them there, this basically shows in like a nice carousel list. And so this is a great way to, again, just like showcase a few products that you also want to call a user's attention to. And you can like change the header as well, which is nice.
Yeah, you've seen this over and over in other platforms, right? Usually at checkout, most of the time that it says like users that bought the items you just purchased, also bought this. In this way, in this instance, we're just trying to give you the ability to say you have some stuff that you want to move really fast. You can say, flash sale and just add a bunch of products there, or whatever the intention might be. But the carousel experience should line up with what's out there today, and users should be pretty familiar with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the next module is featured. So this is where you can feature a category or package. So again, very similar flow. You go to your categories page, and here you can click edit, and now you can set it as featured. And so when you set it as featured, you can select images to just auto fill that thumbnail. That's again, if you want maybe a quicker store building experience, it's a great option. You can see how that looks here. Or if you want to get, if you want to get fancy and make some of your own. Oh shoot, I don't think we have the image here. Well, if you want to upload your own, you can do that as well. And then it will just preset in this card. And so similar to if you want to like make your own banner image, that's a great option here. It just lets you kind of ramp up your store even more.
Yeah, so instead of like just targeting one item, maybe you're creating a category with a bunch of different items and you want to get creative with the kind of like the thumbnail for it. You can just quickly upload it there and have it, display correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and lastly, we just pull in your spotlighted products, kind of assuming that those are the most important on your store, again, because of that hierarchy. So you can show your spotlighted products on the landing page as well. And you can, of course, just change the order of these, like if you have a preference for which shows at the top.
Yeah, with a drag and drop functionality also, which is pretty convenient if you're just kind of like mocking things up. And maybe the images you have don't match, you can just move stuff around from here.
Yeah, I think
Cool.
that kind of,
That's
yeah, do you
kind
have
of
any else on,
yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of like the branding in a in a nutshell. Again, this is like something we are really excited about. We heard some users are excited about it too, for the flexibility. Some people have some questions about it. So always welcome. I don't know if there are any questions out there or
Yeah, we got
feedback.
a few if you guys are willing to answer them.
Yep.
Um, First one that we have is, can we insert a video on the landing page?
Yeah, today, as of today, you can, but it has to be a video that is hosted on YouTube. So you can only share a YouTube link.
Can it
Um,
be a private video, like if they upload it to their YouTube channel and mark it as private and then use that link, or does that not work?
yeah, yeah,
That'd work?
that works.
Okay.
Yeah. The only caveat on that is that you still see the YouTube navigations and controls.
Okay.
We are working on a solution for that too, so
Cool.
stay tuned.
And then is there a recommended resolution or dimension for the banner on the landing page?
Yes, we have a suggested resolution there,
Oh,
2000 by 500. But we are working on different ways to be able to not have to worry too much about the dimensions, just upload an image that will resize. But for the time being, we suggest, more than the required pixels, we are asking you to stay with a aspect ratio of 16 by 9. That's gonna give you the best bang for your buck. So if
okay.
as long as we respect that, it should be fine.
Okay. And then can you add a spotlight to a bundle or a package?
You can only spotlight products or groups right now, but that would be a case where you would do a featured category or package.
Mhm.
And just to clarify, so like these are the featured cards here. And so category or package, and then spotlight are the ones that show up when you're within a category or on view all. And that's this one. And so that can be a group or a product right now, but we can always develop that further.
Okay, perfect. Someone commented that the spotlighted product feature is a great way to highlight new items. So, thanks, Doug, for pointing that out. Are we able to center products? So I know once upon a time they could, and now I think they're all left aligned. Is center alignment going to be available again?
Well, it depends on what center line means. We are trying to respect the grid. So yes, everything is left aligned, but we are kind of keeping things tight to both ends. So it should feel like a center alignment. We did have to choose one not to break this pattern of like mathematical blocks. So yes, left aligned. If you have one product, it's gonna be to the left. But we're just hoping that, if you have one product, you either spotlight it or get creative on how you display it just to utilize the whole width of your screen.
Okay. And then, oh, speaking of alignment, we have someone said wording on all stores is now left justified on all stores under the header or logo on the front page. Oh, that was a comment, not a question. Sorry. Um, this one, sorry, we're going to open a can of worms with ADA compliance. But someone is asking about the custom colors, and they said that the color desaturation is really subtle. And would there be a consideration to make that desaturation a little less strong so that it has more of a difference between light mode? I know we've discussed this kind of in depth with like staying ADA compliant and still allowing our users to have custom colors. So do you guys want to speak to that a little bit?
Liz, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, I can take a stab at it. Yeah, I guess definitely not a perfect answer, but the reason for tenting it, of course, is not only ADA compliance, but also just for someone who may not even have color contrast issues. Like having a really bright background color is just can be kind of an oppressive experience, of course. And so that's the idea behind the tent. And we're kind of hoping that with the accent color and the welcome panel, you have different avenues to get your full color and the hex code you want into the platform without having to, like paste it on the whole back of the ecom storefront. With that said, I think we had Diego talked about maybe having a like version 2 solution here where we can give you all a bit more customization there. But again, just trying to balance those factors.
The biggest factor on this was that we were running into, this is before this whole branding, we were running into some people or some users just picking not the best colors to display on a site, and that's reflecting on a lot of other users. So like people will pick a bright green for the background color and just plaster it throughout the website. And like Liz said, it just creates that kind of an underlying uncomfortability, and people are like, "Ah, I don't want to shop here anymore." So we're just trying to like, kind of like subtly and what's the word I'm looking for? Subliminally changing the color just to give that like enough of a custom look with a desaturated. But yes, we are hearing this over more and more, so we're trying to come up with a solution that maybe can increase the contrast a little bit.
Okay. I know everybody on this webinar is obviously got great taste in colors, but I know everybody on this webinar has also seen a web store that has like lime green and brown together or something that's just not attractive. So,
Yeah.
um, can we control the size of the overlay, like the overlay logo on the slide? So we've had a couple comments that people say when they do the overlay, it's very small. Is there a way to increase that logo size on the overlay?
What you upload should fit in the right dimensions. I will just say maybe check that the loading is big enough or it's meeting that 1200 pixel. If it's bigger, we'll just like crop it, but we do have a box that the logo will fit to, so it should not be too small. And I think to look is like maybe the logo itself has a lot of white space around it, making it smaller. So we're still expanding it to the right size, but it looks smaller because of that container.
Okay,
So
so
just
there is,
experiment.
but there
Yeah,
is a maximum size on that.
it's
So
a
I
max.
think they
Yeah.
were asking if they didn't have white space and they still wanted it to be bigger, if they could make it bigger. So in that case, that's
Oh,
probably about as
bigger.
big as it's going to
No,
get, right?
yeah,
Okay.
it's as big as it's gonna get.
Okay. Um, let's see if we've got any others. Da, 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 da. Do they need to upload two different logos for dark and light mode?
Good question. So the
Mhm.
short answer is yes. Because if you upload one in light mode, it might not work in dark mode and vice versa. So I think it will be smarter if you just make sure like curate them both in both modes, just to make sure they work. And then you don't have to be constantly changing, right, Liz?
I will, yeah, and I will add to that that you don't. So, for example, this logo, like it's kind of about preference a bit. Like this kind of works in light or dark mode, right? So this one you may not want to change your logo, and you can just toggle between them. Um, of course, subjective. But if you have one that's like white and then a really dark color, so it can't be interchangeable between themes, that's why we kind of give you these options where if you want to just upload both here, then you kind of get that out of the way. And now you can go in here and toggle between and it will switch automatically. So it's kind of like you don't have to, but it could make it easier for you to kind of experiment with the color themes down the road.
Kind of like the same way we just do options on our processes, right? Like you will not upload a logo that is gonna go on a black t-shirt. It's not gonna be the same one, it's gonna go on the white one. So we're kind of using that same principle. Of course, like, common sense and taste, it's the key here. But we just recommend, usually most people have two versions of their logo, so just upload them once and unforgettable. We'll do the heavy lifting for you, basically.
Okay. I do have another question about alignment. I thought it was a comment earlier, but I misread. So she was talking about the wording on all stores under the header or the logo on the front page is now left justified. Can they center justify the wording now
On the cart itself?
on the header or logo on the front page? I think
That'd
maybe
be
the
landing
On the
page.
welcome panel.
yeah.
I think
Um,
it's on the welcome.
oh, so maybe centering this. Oh, let me see. this text
Yeah,
maybe?
that
Is
text.
that,
Yes.
would that be
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So inside the landing.
Let me see. Mm-hmm. We we don't have that now, but I mean, we could add that. I think we default to left align because that's kind of just standard for how users read the page. And so like as you can see here, if you think about a customer, they're just going to run down this left seam and go all the way down the page. And so that's kind of the reason why we default to left align. It's kind of like industry standard, but um, I'm sure maybe in the future
Yeah.
we could
We
change
just
that.
we align it with how our items cards display. You'll see like name, item name and price. Everything is left aligned. But yeah, we could definitely introduce that into the text control. That should not be a big
Mhm.
big problem. Well, thank you for the feedback.
I have another one. I'm not sure if you guys will have an answer on this one. Will there be a way for us to change the way the logo and background looks when the link is sent out to customers? Sometimes it ends up being tone on tone and they can't see the logo for the store.
Oh, would that be on like kind of the social preview that you get in the text
I think
message?
so. Yeah.
Because I think we got a comment on that in the summit as well, and we
Yeah.
haven't touched that, but it would be a great area to work on.
Yeah,
So,
we made a note about
um,
it, but yeah, a lot
mhm.
of people are asking about social links and how to share this. So we're definitely gonna look more into it.
Awesome. Perfect. So that's great feedback, Danica. Okay, I think we've gone through most of these. There are a couple that were a little bit more complex, and we're going to send those to the team and then we'll answer afterwards. But if there's anything else that you guys want to know that you haven't got the chance to submit, you can always reach out to us at Team Chipley at teamchipley.com. Or I'm sorry, Team Chipley at chipley.com. We're always happy to answer any questions you guys have. Diego and Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate you walking us through everything and, of course, taking everybody's feedback and implementing that in the future. And to everyone else who joined us today, we're very glad you can make it. And we will see you guys all next month.
All right. Thank you for having us,
Thank
guys.
you.
See you soon.
Bye.